GameStop has been in trouble for quite some time. They've been closing stores in recent years, basically becoming the next Blockbuster after they have pretty much gone out of business. I believe there's one Blockbuster left right now in Alaska, I think it is. But GameStop has been closing stores over recent years, and now kicking off the year 2020, they've had one of their largest group closings of stores in recent memory. So we're going to get fired into talking all about GameStop and what the future holds for them. Today's video is brought to you by bzfuture.com, where you could save money on gaming accessories for your PC setup, from keyboards to mice, controllers, desks, headphones, you name it. They have got you covered with all of your PC gaming accessories. And BZ Future now offers software, and they've got their Happy New Year sale going on right now, where you can grab yourself a free copy of Windows 10 Pro along with the antivirus software of your choice at the same price as what you would normally spend on an affordable Windows 10 key. Right now you can get McAfee Antivirus for $15.98 along with that free copy of Windows 10 Pro. You'll get your key within minutes on your account over on bzfuture.com, and then you can take that key, head over to McAfee's website and activate it and download your software within just minutes of making your payment. And if you head over there right now and use my code BZJP at checkout, you'll get an additional 10% off of your purchase. So be sure to hit up the link down in the description below to bzfuture.com. So as many of you know, physical sales have just been basically dwindling in recent years. Digital sales have been dominating the market with ease of access to affordable, fast internet. Even in rural areas here in the United States, you can pretty much get fast internet for very low prices. I myself recently upgraded to a gigabit line, which I'm only paying $75 a month for, which is absolutely dirt cheap to what you would have had to pay for a gigabit line a few years ago, if you could even get access to one. Even just a few years ago, if I wanted to get a gigabit line with Comcast, it was going to cost around $300, and now I can get it for under $100. It's basically was like a $10 upgrade over my previous plan, which was only 150 megabit. Now I'm getting 1,000 megabits. So cheaper internet, cheaper storage options, all of these things have been, making GameStop in trouble. And now even with streaming services for games becoming even more and more popular, or even subscription services like the Xbox Live Game Pass, you've got Uplay Plus, you've got Origin Access Premier. So even games are starting to become more like a Netflix or Hulu subscription-based service. And on top of that, of course, you can buy games digitally as well. For PC, that's just been the way it is for the last 10 plus years. Physical media on PC has just pretty much been dead. I know when I resurfaced back into the PC market around the year 2011, I bought 2 games physically, I think Diablo 3 and Borderlands 2, and since then I have not bought a single physical game, as it's just easier and more convenient to have games from things like Steam, Origin, Uplay, Epic Game Store, now the Rockstar launcher. We can get games so easily, and consoles in this most recent generation have come on board with that as well, with full-fledged titles becoming more accessible on there on the PS4 as well as the Xbox One. Of course, on the 360 and PS3, they did have digital game sales on there, although it was mostly for the arcade or the smaller titles. Not too many people were going out and spending $60 on a full title to play it on those systems, because you can buy the physical game, you could beat it, maybe you get tired of it, you can trade it in at GameStop and get 5 cents for it, and then they turn around and sell it for $55. So maybe one of the reasons people aren't going to GameStop as much as they used to. But yeah, they've been closing a lot of stores. As I said, right now they're closing over 50 stores to kick off the year 2020, several of them in my own backyard here in New Jersey, and it's no shock. As I said, digital sales have begun to take over. Many people thought maybe this next generation of consoles with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X would actually be fully digital, but it does appear there are going to be physical games for that. But I honestly do think this is going to be the last console generation where physical sales are going to be a thing. So I think probably in the next 5 years, you're going to see very few GameStops that are open, and I think mostly they're going to be specializing in selling used games from previous generation of consoles, and maybe even bringing in some retro stuff, Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and all of that stuff. Back in 2015, GameStop actually did their estimations for the year 2016 and 2019, and they were honestly quite generous in their favor with these estimates, as in 2016 they were estimating roughly 30% of sales would be digital media, and by 2019 it would be split at 50-50, which would still put them in quite a bit of a pickle, although as the actual sales for digital versus physical in the years 2015 and 2016 have hugely favored digital sales. In 2016, the most recent year I could find numbers reported on from the NPD, which is the National Purchase Diary, they said that in 2016, digital sales were at over $18 billion, while physical sales accounted for just over $6 billion in game sales. And of course, this has hurt GameStop significantly, but it is worth noting that those sales are not strictly of just straight video games. The digital sales also include sale of mobile games, microtransactions, DLC, pretty much anything that you could purchase without needing a physical copy of something is bundled in all along in those digital sales. So it's probably not as drastic as that, but it's still pretty bad for GameStop, as their stock prices have hit almost a record low, trading for basically less than what it was trading for when it first hit the stock market back in 2002. If you look at their stock price today, it is currently trading at $4.66, and you can see in the last 5 years it has been a steady decline. Their high was up around $60 back in 2007, but now sadly they're under $5, and when they first hit the stock market in February of 2002, they were trading at almost $10, and the lowest they ever went down to appears to be around $3.96. So they are almost selling right now for what their lowest stock ever was for GameStop. So things are not looking good for them, and that is in large part why they are closing so many stores, and it's kind of the end of an era, really. We saw this, we saw this with Blockbuster, and now we're seeing it with GameStop. GameStop basically swallowed up like tons of other gaming store companies years ago. Like I remember, like when I was a kid, going to Funkoland. We also had Electronics Boutique, Sam Goody were a few of the stores that we would go to. Nobody Beats the Wiz. And some of those stores, like Electronics Boutique as well as Funkoland, were basically taken over by... Actually, I think Funkoland basically turned into GameStop, but then GameStop bought up several other companies like Electronics Boutique, and they basically rebranded all of those brick and mortar locations into GameStop stores. So that's why there's so many of them everywhere, because they were buying up competition and then putting their own branding on those physical stores. So in my town, there's like 3 or 4 different GameStops in like a 2-mile radius. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if by the end of the year 2020, I might see at least half of those stores closed down, as they have already kicked off the year closing over 50 locations, and they're not going to be able to stay afloat like this for long, with the stock price trading under $5 and even more people starting to purchase digital media over physical media, even though for a console, I would prefer to have a physical copy, only because once I'm done with it, I can go and sell that. You can't really sell a digital copy once you've used it, so it's just kind of yours permanently. And with consoles not really doing that great in terms of backwards compatibility, and when they do, you kind of need to, like, it's only a limited number of titles. But I've heard things on the new generation that might not be the case, as the Xbox Series X should be able to play Xbox One titles as well natively on there. So that's going to be a good thing for this generation. But for like the PC, we really don't have the issue. There's no such thing as backwards compatibility. You could have bought a game in 1990 and it's still going to work today. It's just the way that it is on PC, because we pretty much just keep, improving operating systems and stuff like that. And the hardware can still run older titles. So with consoles, that's not really the case. Hopefully in this new generation, that becomes more of a thing for them, being able to play previous generation titles, as that would definitely, open up a lot of people's libraries and probably make them more likely to want to go out and upgrade to a new system and not need to hold on to their older consoles. But yeah, as I said, there's no doubt this is an end of an era here with GameStop. So let me know your thoughts, down in the comments below on GameStop, the closing of all these stores and everything. Are you sad to see GameStops go? Or if you're just a PC gamer, it probably doesn't really impact you all that much. But I definitely feel a little nostalgic. I feel kind of bad for GameStop, even though, they ripped me off for years on trade-in values for games. I remember back in the 90s, the first time I ever traded in games, when I found out that was a thing, and this was at Funkoland at the time, which, as I said, eventually became GameStop. I remember trading in my original Nintendo Entertainment System and probably over 30 games, the controllers, the Duck Hunt gun, like pretty much every accessory, every game that I had for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I got just enough money to purchase a single game on the Sega Genesis at the time. It was actually Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage. I remember it was like, I think it was like almost $70. Games were kind of pricey back then, depending on how much memory was used on the actual physical cartridge themselves. The prices could actually be quite high, and on that game, it was quite an expensive title. I remember at the time, it was definitely over $50. So yeah, for like 1992 money or whatever year it was quite a bit. And yeah, but I remember playing that game very fondly and enjoying it, but I did regret, and I still do now, having sold off my Nintendo Entertainment System. I still wish that I wish that I had it today in all of my games so that I can go back and sort of play it. So yeah, for that, I do feel a little nostalgic with GameStop. So it's kind of sad to see them go, but I also feel the same way about Blockbuster. I mean, I feel nostalgic about it, but I'm still not going to go out and just, you know, spend money there in order to try to save the store. So, I mean, we're not that nostalgic, are we? Otherwise, we would have saved Blockbuster a long time ago, but we just don't need them anymore. With streaming services for movies, you don't need to purchase movies anymore, and with games, you don't need to purchase physical games anymore, when you could just either join a subscription service or buy a downloadable copy, which is going to be so much cheaper than even a used copy of the game. You can get games on PC for like dirt cheap. I mean, they are literally giving them away. The Epic Game Store is practically giving away games every week, so it doesn't make much sense to go out there and buy a physical copy of anything when you can just wait for a sale and get them as cheap as they are. So yeah, as I said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd be interested to hear your guys' feedback on this. I'm going to go now. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on it, subscribe if you're not already, or ring that notification bell if you've been here for a while and you don't want to miss a video as soon as it goes up live on the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. Ta-ra.